Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos. This is a bit impromptu. I'm in the middle of commission painting at the moment, but I thought to myself over the last day or two I hadn't done anything more on my beginner painting for historical Wargames figures. So I'm going to take a break from my own painting to do, I suppose, some of my own painting, but you know what I mean. This is a Citadel figure. I'm looking at the uniform. I bought these off eBay, one of these buy it now things. Somebody was just selling off a couple of packs. So this is what I'm trying to say is this. I'm going to be painting this as a gunner in the artillery for the war in Ireland in 1689. I'm basing it off the British Army. Let me just look at my notes. British Army 1660 to 1704 Osprey book, and also you'll find the guy I'm going to represent on colour plate H2. Now it says in the brief notes that they've got on the Osprey book that they briefly wore this blue. A lot of the infantry regiments at the time, British infantry, we hadn't fully adopted the red as yet, and I just thought it would be a nice colour. There's blue and orange, always a nice mix, so I thought we'd have a go at that. And basically it's not, I suppose the figure's immaterial really. It's just a fact of just showing you the type of paint mixes I use, how thin the paints are. Nothing overly fancy, although I would say if you are just beginning, blending and other ways of figure painting aren't overly fancy. If you're learning from scratch or from a small, a low base, it's just something you're learning. It's not difficult, but I won't be using it on this figure because majority of the time, unless you're really doing it for photographic work, or you really want to do blending and seamless transitions and all that type of thing, you're just doing really highlights, 2 or 3 highlights, base colour, all that stuff, and that's what I'm going to try and replicate here. But just how I paint, there's 1,000,001 people out there in YouTube and blogs and everything else all doing their own. This is how they paint. So as I've said to you before, just cruise them all and just pick up what you think is, you could just say, Gav, you're waffling here, it's a load of rubbish, or I can't, that doesn't work for me, and then just go find something that does. As I say, painting is an enjoyable pastime. If you're painting to create armies to game with, then you've got to do it, get from A to B, and it's all part of what you do. If you're like me and a lot of other guys and gals out there, you just paint for pleasure. It's a relaxing hobby. So join me at the bench. This isn't going to be a full paint, by the way. See, I'm all over the place already. This is how impromptu it is. It's not going to be a full paint. It will be, the whole figure will be painted, but we'll do him in probably sections. I can't devote a whole afternoon or longer to paint one figure, and I just don't have the time and the energy at the moment to start trying to edit particularly anything in and out. So it'll just be probably, I've not even decided yet. When I turn the camera off, I'll decide what part I'm painting first for you, but probably the jacket, but we'll have a look. Join me at the bench. Right, Tubesters, thanks for joining me at the bench. First of all, grab yourself your whatever reference you're going to be needing. I won't be opening this up. Sometimes, very occasionally I do, but you know what copyright's like. I could claim fair usage, but I just think it's it's for this occasion it's not worth it. This is obviously pick your own figure. I will be painting other figures in this series, but obviously this is just, I've just picked this figure because I happen to have it. It's fairly simple. Brushes. These are my go-to brushes now. These are Rosemary & Co. Series 33. For this project I've just added a couple of extras, so we've got a 0, 10-0, which I'm using at the moment on commission. A 1, maybe I use it on this one, maybe I don't, and a 3-0. So they're my brushes, Rosemary & Co, very good. They've all kept a point. I say I've gone away from using the Army painter brushes because I bought a batch of them and every single one didn't hold a point. They just exploded, you know, into like a foxtail. So that's no good for any painter. So they're just slowly being used as basing brushes and things now. Grab your figure. Figure, as we've said, figure is a citadel. I don't know if you'd class that as 28 or 25, to be honest with you. As I say, he's here for painting demonstration purposes really only. So there's our figure. Our wet palette, which you can't see. That's a wet palette, it's all blanked out. Our wet palette, so that's a piece of kitchen towel with a piece of which is then had water put into it and then placed on with a piece of baking parchment. The primer of choice that I use for everything these days is, and this is just my primer of choice, is the primer and microfiller AK Grey from AK Interactive. It's a lacquer primer, so you need lacquer thinners for it. I get by with the Mr. Is it the Mr. Colour, you know, from Gunze and that. I use their I use their thinner, which is a lacquer thinner, but AK obviously do their own. I also have that as well. But yeah, excellent. That does plastic and metal because it gets used on photo etch and stuff as well. So, as it says, it has a very slight. It's not as thick as some of the Gunze primers you can get for specifically for putting thicker coats of primer on, but it does me. This is the paint set I'll be using. You can buy these individually, by the way. You don't have to buy them as a box set, but if you're starting out painting, it will give you a good foundation of colours that you'll need, and if you don't want such a jump between transitions, then you just mix the paint, you know, the different bottles to how you require them. Just a quick, just got to add something quickly. Guys, I keep saying it, I suffer from mental health problems. Today again isn't a great day. As you can see, I'll stutter and start sometimes when I'm doing these things. Part of the PTSD that I've got, it gives me like a brain fog, and I just can't. It's in my head, and I can't get it out. You know, to what I want to say to you guys sometimes. So if I stutter and start, or if I turn the camera off and whatever, I'm afraid that's just how it is. It's living with mental health. It's just one of them things. Right, so I thoroughly recommend these paints. I've said it before. They mix well. They're a decent consistency. They start with a base coat. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. I'm painting. Let me see if I can get these guys out here. I'm painting these for commission at the moment. They haven't had this base coat on. They're quite small. I don't really see the point in it for the scale wise, but this guy we're going to put our base coat on. So we're going to put our number 1 bottle on, give him a coat of that, and we will start from there. I'm also going to quickly show you consistency, what I'd expect to put on as a base coat first. Right guys, instead of watching paint dry, we're actually going to hydrate it. What I do is I dip some water. This is a, where are we? Barbecue skewer. It's got some water on the end. I just literally dip it into my my jar of water, funny enough, and I mix it. I don't use let's get one of these brushes. I don't use a paintbrush to mix it because the paint, doing that you'll just wreck your brushes. So I actually, you could use the base of a paintbrush, maybe a bit smaller, thick, not as thick as that one, but you can do that. Now, let me just get this. This is actually a barbecue skewer. It does occasionally go through the paper, but that's how I like to work. And I've had this barbecue skewer for years. So that, and let's put it on my back. Oh God, I realise how bad my nails are. Let's do it on the clean one, and I'll go and wash my nails. See, that's quite opaque. Not translucent particularly. It does go on fairly translucent actually. This base coat. As I say, I only use it 50% of the time. I just thought I'd actually do it on this one so you could see. But that's quite thick. I wouldn't be putting that on in later coats, but it's a base coat and that's what I want out of it. Right guys, bear with me. As you know, this isn't easy, and the one thing that I will do in future is mount this on one of those cork bungs that you see me use on the larger figures. As I say, I was actually going to do that with this figure, and I obviously doing this impromptu, I really didn't give it much thought. Now I've got my, you can hardly see it, I've got my paint. In fact, let's get a bit more paint on brush. You've got to work quickly, especially when it's warm. But what on a base coat like this, I will put this directly to the figure. Now you will see, hang on a second, bit of kitchen towel. If I was to go do later coats, I will be wiping the figure off. I'll be wiping the brush off slightly on the kitchen towel. Because what will happen is if you apply your brush directly to the figure on subsequent highlights, you get like a teardrop effect, like a pear-shaped effect, where the brush has deposited too much paint in one area. Try and be as careful as you can. Now you will notice at some stage in this, I'll be getting paint everywhere, and it's only because I'm trying to paint on camera. It's not, yes, I'm painting slightly out of position for myself really. Now what I normally do is every couple of applications of paint on the base coat, I'll wash the brush out, keeping it moist all the time. I will wipe the excess water away on that piece of kitchen towel, because again what will happen is, might just see there we go, we've got our telltale bit of water. I'll often do that. If you don't, the water will run down the ferrule and thin out your paint that you've put on. We'll go on this undercut here. It's going to, by the way, the cuffs, this, guys, I've said to you, is going to be blue and orange mainly. In fact, more or less 100% really, apart from the shoes. He's got an orange lining from what I can see. He's literally in the background on the artwork. He's going to have an orange lining, orange waistcoat, orange, they're not trousers, are they? For the life of me, it escapes me at the moment, and orange stockings. As I say, it's a very, I've deliberately picked this figure because he's quite simplified. He's not an officer, so there's not too much in the period that we're talking about. Officers could be quite individualistic in their approach to uniforms. Try and get, if you get it into the hair, you know, it's not the big deal. I say you can clean up. It's not nothing is a big deal. If you splash, don't worry too much. One, just teach yourself to be neat, because it then saves you all the clean up work afterwards. which I'm doing in spades with these 18mm Napoleonics I'm doing at the moment. I've just had a session cleaning all those up. Going over the overspill, and also if you've got dark colours, it will tend to, if you're then putting lighter colours on top, you know, you're having to muck around with the paint to get it to work properly for you. So right guys, this is our base coat first application of. There will be the odd little bit I've missed, more than likely. You can see there's still wet paint, and I've actually can see that I've not covered very well under the arm there, but that's not a problem. So this is, I'm actually going to give this 2 coats. So to speed things up, what I've said to you guys before, if you're painting just one, or if you're painting, at the moment I've got a row of 10 or 12 Napoleonics in front of me, and I will just go from one end to the other, then back to the, you know, and they'll dry out normally. Unless it's your base coats in the deep crevices, sometimes it doesn't, and then I'll just jump to something else, or I'll use the hairdryer. In this case, we've got one figure, and you know, we're not going to be waiting literally for paint to dry, so we're going to speed the process up with the hairdryer. You can see there, this is going to be orange under here, and I've gone over, so it's all about being neat. So that's like a dark colour now on there. So yeah, just be as neat as you can. Right guys, we've got our 2 coats on. You'll see it's patchy. I've got no problems with that because we'll be putting a lot more other paint on. It just gives us something for the other blues to go on top of. You can sometimes get away with just 1 coat if you don't mind, you know, it being even more patchy. But 2 coats for something like this is good for me. Now, see the darkness on the tip of the brush there. You don't want to be really going much farther up the brush than that. I like these longer bristles on these brushes. If you've used shorter ones, they do take sometimes a bit of getting used to, because you tend to find your brush is touching the figure way before you think it's going to be. But you've got less chance of getting that paint up into this metal ferrule here. And as I said on the last video that I did on for beginning, you don't want paint up this. It'll get caked in over time, and it will happen over time. But what will happen is the paint in the top of that metal ferrule will push your bristles out, and no matter how you try, you won't keep a point with it. So what I normally do is, if I'm going on to another colour, I will then, let's get my brush cleaner. Can't remember what this is called, but if you go back to the other video, I'll show the bottle on there. I've just decanted it into one of these mixing bottles, and I'll wash it out in there with some water first, then wash it out in there, and then wash it out with some more water before I go on to a different colour. But we are using blues, so at the moment it doesn't matter. We're going to be using number 6, so the last bottle in the set, which is our darkest shadows, and then we'll be using number 5, which is the second shadow. There's with these, like most of these box sets, they have instructions on how to paint. They're usually showing you obviously larger display figure painting figures, but you know, it's how on this one, if I remember rightly, they're showing putting highlights on first and then shadow areas. It really is up to you. I just prefer doing, on the whole, I do shadow areas first. I just put way too much paint on. Luckily I've got a whole host of Napoleonics to paint, so I can get away with using that. I'm just rehydrating this, or hydrating this paint at the moment. Go with a bit more. I'll put some on my nail here. Sorry about the grubbiness, I have gone and tried to clean them out. Now, as you can see on that, you're still not seeing through my nail particularly, and if I just draw it along there, that's roughly the consistency that you want. I'm just going to clean my nail off as best as I can. The last one got well and truly stuck on there, and that one has too. Right, let's get down to business. So let's pick our shadow areas. We can still try and get the brushing gab. There you go. Very pointed. Still lovely point to them. You can go down the sizes if you don't feel confident, but you can get away with doing what we're doing with this size brush, which is the number 1 brush. I do actually like painting with a lot more smaller brushes than people often do. It's just how I am. I paint a lot of those 18 mils as well, so that's probably why. So we're going for shadows here, so we'll go under this pocket flap. Sometimes I'll even enhance the shadows more, not so much on blues obviously because of the colour, but I will normally even go in with a bit of rubber black or some type of black just to show some shadow areas if I need to. Now we've got I'm painting this here. It's just my way of painting, as I say, so you'll have to forgive me when I say painting for beginners. As I keep saying, I think once you're starting off with new techniques and you're new to painting, it doesn't really matter then if you're new or not. That doesn't really make much sense, but I don't always go for the classic build up in stripes, if that makes sense. My way of painting is a bit I think somebody said sketchy a few videos back, and at first I wasn't sure if I was being insulted, but I don't think I was. I like I say realism. We're painting toy soldiers here, aren't we? But Wargame soldiers, whatever you want to call them. But I do like that look. Again, I apologise for any ambient noise. I've got half the windows shut and I'm cooking. We're actually going into a heat wave in the UK at the moment. Of all days to want to do one of these videos. Sometimes I'll miss this dark coat out completely and go for the lesser of the shaded. That's the number 5 bottle. And then come back with this colour right at the end. I often think long and hard about doing these videos because I don't have a particular set way, I don't believe anyway, of painting. I literally go backwards and forwards, just it's going to sound really arty, and airy-fairy and whatever, but it's these figures are like a canvas for an artist, and an artist will go backwards and forwards working on different areas, build, happy with one area, move on, or you get a bit of a mental block on how that particular area is going, so you move around to another area. And these figures aren't any really different. They might be metal, plastic, resin, and that goes for when you're doing scale modelling. If you've got a aircraft, tank, ship, whatever, it's all a giant canvas of some description, and you're just putting your interpretation, your artistic interpretation. Now that might be a bit too overthinking, it might, I might be overthinking. That's, people just say, no, I'll just put a bit of paint on a figure and that's it. That's fine. But what I'm saying is I don't, even though I am a commission painter, I don't have it probably costs me a lot of time. I don't have a set routine, people say before, muscle memory, do it, all the same poses or all this and all that. And if that works for somebody, that's great. But I just, it's just not the way I work. Now what we'll probably do with this undercuts here, which I can't really show you at the moment, we'll probably put some rubber black, which gives it it has a brown in it, and it's an AK colour I've recently acquired, and I'm using it for all my shading at the moment, or the majority of it. Right guys, we've got our first shadow areas in. As I say, nothing's cast in stone, so it may well change. See a bit of undercoat there, primer even. So we'll stick some dark in there. You could just put some black in there to really darken that out. I've said before, I just use the lighter colours. They have the one problem with using a lighter primer is obviously you've got to make sure that you get everything covered. Right, this is our second highlight. Now, see how more translucent that is. So that's had a bit more water applied to it. You can start seeing it through my nail through the base there. See. That's our next shadow area. One thing I didn't mention before, it's not really that necessary in this type of line of work, but I keep IPA alcohol, so you know the industrial alcohol stuff, whatever they call it, and I put it in a little you buy these bottles off eBay, and like you get 20 for £4, £5 free delivery, whatever. And I have to keep writing IPA and rub it out again, but it just reminded me getting the paint off me off me nail there. It's really good for cleaning stuff up, IPA, and I just keep a small amount on my desk. Anyway, let's get back to the point in hand. If you hear the clippy clopping about, that's my pup Arch. He can't settle. It's getting warmer. We'll probably pay for it tonight because he hates the. We've got all that lagging in the loft, and it turns our house into a blooming furnace. They didn't tell you that when they put it in. We had a new gas boiler, and it was like, oh, you get free loft insulation. You know, the government with all the grants and everything. So it was, yeah, fair enough. Go on, stick it in. And keep your house extra toasty in the winter time. Well, if it does, I haven't really felt it, but if it does, great. But what it also does is turn your house into an absolute furnace in the or upstairs anyway during the summer months. And my pups, obviously I've lost Barkley now, but my pups always like to be around me. Barkley would always have his head on my foot, and they really don't like the all the extra heat up here. Archie prefers to go and lie on the landing under one of the windows. I actually went and put the fan on for the first time in a couple of months, and I thought, oh, you never did that video on the beginner painting series. So the fan was on for 2 minutes, and it's gone off again. He likes that. He goes and lies in front of it. I'm a cruel old dad. So as I say, I've just heard a dog bark out there. If you hear things like that, I apologise, as I say, but the windows have got to be open, or I think that might be a bit of hair on painting there, but it doesn't hurt. Right, I think for the moment, the good thing is with these wet palettes, you see, is that paint will stop on there for a couple of days if it's not, and that's with it being covered up. If you've got a proper cover for it, put it in the fridge. I've even seen people buy these little mini fridges for putting tins of beer or pop in or whatever. If your wife is not too happy about you putting them in the normal fridge. But yeah, if you've got one of these bought pallets and you've got the room in the fridge and that, obviously they'll last for weeks. I don't. As I say, I get through so much so quickly. I just have it at the side of me. I rehydrate it just before I go to bed, you know, or when I finish painting, I'll go and put some more tap water underneath, you know, to peel back the one corner of the parchment, and then just put some dribbles of cold water and that'll keep it rehydrated for a day or two. The small bits of paint you saw on the palette before that I'd been using on some other stuff, that some of those had been there 48 hours and it's still ready to use, just needs mixing up. Right guys, I'll be back in a minute when I've got the rest of the paint out. Right guys, we're now going to go onto our more highlighted areas, and it's almost, as you can see, the more translucent areas in there, that's where we've had 2 coats of base coat, but the primer is still showing through, and we've put our shadow areas in. It looks messy, but it'll all come together. But those translucent areas almost show you where you need to work on, so that's always good, I always think. Now I'm using number 2 and number, where are we? Come on Gav, let's get out a bit. Right, we've got Andrea 2 and Andrea 3. Obviously it's a favourite of mine because it's well used. Now the reason I've got the cap off this, I find with Valleos, especially when they get warm in the summer months and whatever, we've all found it, you get a huge splodge of about 3 weeks worth of paint come out the end, and they'll often gum up the inside. I'm forever having to clean them off, and then as quick as you clean them off they're gummed up again. I don't find Andrea does that, obviously paint consistency, but what it will do is dry off around the tip here. Now I've just taken some paint out of this, and I only thought about it last minute, so I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. But you'll see these bits of dry paint here. You don't want that falling into your mix. It's very crumbly with these Andreas. So before you tip any paint out, wipe the top off with a bit of kitchen towel, because otherwise you'll get that in your paint, and you'll just end up with crumbs in it. Right. That's the one thing I'm having a problem with is my light isn't as low, because I've got the camera over it. I'm sorry, under it. My light isn't as good as it would normally be. So with these darker blues, I'm not even 100% if I'm hitting where I'm supposed to be. Consistency is the same as before. I thought I'm not going to keep putting it all on a nail. You want to be just as you saw the last one, where you're in the ballpark. If you're hitting the, if you're putting it on your nail, if you put a bit on your nail and you can see through it, this is a bit again of you're going to have to trial and error. People can only show you so much. You've got to really just get on the brushes. It's like me, falling down scale modelling at the moment. You've just got to get in the trenches and do it, and it will. If you've got, I've always said it's the same with the painting. If you've got an interest in something, you'll overcome whatever difficulties you've got with it. To a greater or lesser degree. We're not all going to be the finest figure painters in the world, including myself. And we're not all going to be the finest scale modelers in the world, but as long as we enjoy what we're doing, that's the main thing. Now what I'm attempting to do here, it's showing up better on the camera lights than it is actually that I can see. What you try and do is, if you've got like a ridge where there's a fold of clothing, you're trying to deposit paint. So if I'm going the bit I've just done there without explaining it, so I'll try and go over it again. This piece here, I will work from the shadow area, keeping the shadows in. Don't paint over the shadows. Again, it's just trial and error. You'll just have to work it out yourself. But as I move my paintbrush up that fold of clothing, it will deposit. You won't see it, it's microscopic really, but the most paint will be deposited on the top of that ridge. as you wipe the paintbrush along. And as I'm going along here, by the way, I'm doing what I explained earlier. I will, in fact, I'll show it on a piece of paper so you know roughly how much I'm taking off. But I'm just wiping the paintbrush on the actual bit of kitchen towel first. So where are we, Gav? I've got some paint on there, and I'll just wipe it off. Oh, I don't even think you saw that. Let's try again. Yes. Wipe a bit off on the just to get a small amount off. Again, is it really necessary on Wargames figures? You'll ask yourself. Well, that's up to that again. Yeah, that really is up to you. As I say, I'm just really showing how I paint. You know, sometimes people say, "How have you done that, Gav?" And sometimes, as I say, because I go backwards and forwards, I'm generally not being trying to hold on to the information particularly. Sometimes I just work it out. You know, I just go along, going backwards and forwards on the painting, and I can't always say to somebody, "Well, this is the exact recipe I've used." You know, it's and there isn't no shortcuts. You know, I've said this all along. Even seeing like how I paint, how somebody else paints, how 5-10 people paint, it's not necessarily going to make you a better painter or even give you shortcuts to glory. You know, you aren't going to suddenly, you know, be knocking it out of the park. You know, you've got to get. I do think it's figure painting, unless if you're very lucky and you're really artistic, maybe you've been to art college, maybe you're just artistic in general, then you have a head start. But if you're not, if someone like me, it's always I fall down, I get up again. I fall down, I get up again. I think the Japanese say, was it that, and on the last time I get up again, meaning I won't be falling down again. Now I'm not going to do the orange today on this. I was debating time-wise if I could get the orange done. I think this is as long as, without me editing this, and I'm not going to be, I think this is about as much as most of you will be able to take. So we're going to do another highlight on this yet. Quite a lot of my painting can be fairly dark, unless I'm trying to show maybe something like an officer figure where I'll intentionally brighten it up just to show a brightened fabric and, you know, better money to spend on better clothes and things like that. But again, you see I've got a shadow area here, and I'm painting just inside it and then away from it. That all comes down to, it's just a style of paint you use on the display figures, you know, on the larger figures you see me paint. And I've tended to now drop it down into how I paint Wargames figures. So again, it might not be for you. You might just say, right, here is a highlight, and just paint a highlighted colour of whatever blue you fancy straight down there. That's enough. As I say, it's just how much you want to put into the figure. But I'm saying here, there's nothing that a beginner can't do straight away. We've not done any blending here. There's no glazes gone on top to unify the different transitions, because it doesn't need. There has to be some highlights, because it is a figure that's so small. So we're putting on the number 3 at the moment out the bottle. Now again, colours I'm using here, there's no reason you will use your Valleos, you know, any you know, citadels, whatever colours you know that you're happy with. It just so happens that I particularly like this blue set, and that's what I tend to, not always, but I tend to paint with. And then sometimes I'll throw in a few scale 75s, a few Valleos as well. Right, guys. Sorry for the creaking. I'm trying to move back under the bench, but my pop arch has decided that he'd take up residence. It's a little... I won't call him any names on camera. 10 years old he is. Right, again, this is a mixture of number 3 bottle and number 4 bottle, which is the final highlight. Let's just give you a show and tell again of the fingernail. So again, fairly translucent. Always remember, if you don't like a highlight, you can always bring it down with a previous colour, especially if it's fairly, thinned out. Definitely not the easiest way to paint blue figures with where I've got my lights. Now, I'll be knocking this off in a minute, and we'll just do a quick face to camera just to finish it off. It doesn't necessarily mean that this will be the end result. Am I even on? Sorry, it's because I've pushed away from the table now. It doesn't necessarily mean that this will be the final sign off on the blue on the jacket. It just what I normally do is wait till I've got the other colours on and then go around and add any extra highlights. I like to see how the different colours work with each other. We've got some more figures coming up on the channel. I've got some 30/80 year war figures for Mez's Minis I'm painting for commission very slowly, but they'll be coming up either at the end of the week or the weekend. Right, now I'm starting to mess. I'm not in a very good painting position here. The things you do for your pops, believe me. And now they've got 2 over the back deciding to have a go. Right, sorry guys, I've just gone and shut the windows. Now we will be truly baking. Already I've no, not happy with that. See, now what's happened there is I've stuffed that up. I've been talking and I didn't do what I normally do, which is wipe off the paint. And we've got, you don't see it really, a classic, that very highlight point there, that's a classic like teardrop effect. That might be a bit better now. We've gone back a highlight. Now, this is quite a bright highlight, so I'd suggest to you, if you've got a bright highlight, try the edges of the, where you would have an extreme highlight, showing. Now, oh, he's decided to move now. He thinks there's somebody at the door. Right, that's about all I'm going to do for now. You'll understand, guys, a lot of us do bits off camera, only because the camera's not in the way on this one. I've got one of those big camera tripods these days, but it just, I often have it underneath the overhead lamp and it just cuts off slightly I've got my other, or one of my other lights on that I use for videos on the side as well. That highlight's still a bit bright in his back, but as I say, it doesn't particularly faze me because I might well be either adding extra highlights or lowering highlights on the final phase of painting. And you can even, if you're lucky, depending on your colour choice, you can even go over your shadow areas and just make them less dark if that's your fancy on the piece. Right guys, for now, let me get my thumb out the way. For now, that's our guy painted. Don't get me wrong, he looks very bright there, and believe me, he's not under the he's not that light. It's all the lights are bouncing off him. But next time, let's get him in focus, Gav. Next time we're going to be doing our orange work. Now what I intend to do is use the same colour orange for the cuffs, the orange lining of the jacket and the orange waistcoat. Probably, if not, it may well be the same for the, oh blooming heck, I can't remember what these are today, but for the, let's just call them trousers for now. For the trousers, I may well use the same colour, but I'm going to be putting it in shade. And then these are shown as orange as well, the stockings. They'd often be like a wool material, and my own thoughts on it is they're going to be a bit darker. So yeah, it's again, it's like the cuff areas here will get some shadows in this area. There's this very thin silk orange ribbon that goes around the top as well, but I may not be doing his hat today. Hat on the next one, and he's going to have a white linen neckerchief, scarf, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, as I say, this is just an off-the-cuff one really. It's just a fact of seeing how far we could get. As I say, I don't speed things up, which means they're long videos at the best of times. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm not going to do a face to camera. I don't think that's more. I'm talking enough now. So thanks for joining me. I hope that's been a benefit to any of you. Or maybe just an accompaniment as you're working on your own projects. But I like videos like that where I can listen to somebody waffling away on painting or model making and occasionally look up. But yeah, next time, as I say, we'll deal with the orange on the figure, and then after that we'll do something like the boots and the hat, maybe even the whole hat, boots and flesh. I don't know, but we'll just see as we go. Look after yourselves, guys, and thanks for joining me on this beginner series. As I say, there will be, I think I'm just going to keep calling them beginner series because I don't think I'm going to be particularly up in the, I'm only painting how I normally paint, if that makes sense. So yeah, just you notice that as well on his arm, can you? That's way too bright, so I'll be taking that down before he goes in the cabinet, waiting for his next outing. Look after yourselves. We'll catch each other very soon on another video.